This is a full breakdown of the main levers you can pull to make more money on your Shopify store, basically how to increase your conversion rate and your average order value. Because the truth is, most Shopify stores are quietly leaving around 20% of their profit on the table. And it's not because their design is terrible. Design matters, but only up to a point. They're losing money because they're guessing their pricing, their offers, and their funnel structure. In this video, I'll show you the A/B test six-figure brands run to fix that, and how you can implement them to your store step by step. But before we jump into the specific tests, we need to clear up something most people completely misunderstand about A/B testing. A lot of merchants obsess over design instead of testing the offer. They tweak the logo, they change the colors, maybe they adjust the font, but they rarely touch the thing that actually moves profit. So what actually makes more people buy? It's the offer. The most basic and honestly most important A/B test you should be running is your product price. If you're selling your product for $29, that's fine. But chances are you didn't arrive at that number through testing. You probably just picked it. You don't actually know if 25 or 32 would make you more profit. And this is one of the easiest things to test. Just don't test tiny changes like 29 versus 31. That's usually too small to change behavior in any meaningful way. A better approach is to move in bigger steps, add 5 or remove $5. Then, once you see which direction works better, you can start refining by $1 increments. Because yes, once you're in the right range, even $1 can make a difference. The main objective is simple. Don't overthink it. Just run the test, because what most people do instead is this. They copy a competitor's price. They turn on free shipping. They throw in a few random upsells. And that's basically guessing, which is fine at the beginning. But if you never revisit it, you're probably leaving money on the table. Now here's something else people get wrong. Don't just look at conversion rate. Look at revenue per visitor. Sometimes conversion drops slightly, but average order value goes up enough that you actually make more money overall. Beginners see the conversion dip and panic, even though total revenue is higher. The second part of this lever is structure. Instead of selling a single item, test a bundle. Don't just sell an espresso maker. Sell a complete coffee kit. It's technically the same product, but now it's framed as a system, and framing changes perception, because people don't just buy products, they buy outcomes. And if you want to do this properly, not just change things manually every couple of weeks and hope for the best, you need a way to split traffic between both versions. That's where a bundles app with built-in A/B testing helps. For example, inside Kaching Bundles, you can duplicate the offer, adjust the structure or the price, and test both versions at the same time without rebuilding your page. The second thing I've noticed is this. Most stores try to get all the money up front. They set one product price, let's say $49.99, and maybe add free shipping below. And a tiny part of them maybe have a post-purchase upsell. That's when someone has already checked out and you offer them something more. And basically, that's it. But look, that's just one way to structure an offer. And here's the thing, you don't actually have to collect all the money in one single step. You can split the price across the funnel, meaning across different parts of the customer journey. What does that actually mean? Instead of charging $49 directly, you could test lowering the base price maybe to $29.99. And yes, if you leave it like that, your margins shrink. And we don't want that. But the point isn't lowering the price. The point is collecting value along the way. So for example, you add a checkbox upsell on the product page. That's a small extra item that's already pre-selected. And since it's already checked, there's almost no friction. People don't need to press anything, it's just there. Then on top of that, you add a pre-purchase upsell. A small pop-up before checkout offering something complimentary. Maybe a discounted second unit or a warranty or something that makes sense for your product. And if you structure this right, you can add $5 to $10, sometimes even more to your average order value. And if you pair that with paid shipping, maybe $4.99 and maybe even a $20 post-purchase upsell or a downsell if they decline, you might end up with a similar or even higher AOV, but with a lower entry barrier. Now you're collecting money step by step, so instead of asking for everything at once, you're increasing AOV gradually. And here's why this matters. Lower entry price means less friction. More people say yes. And once someone says yes once, they're psychologically more likely to say yes again. That's how AOV increases without destroying your conversion rate. But, and this is important, you don't just assume this works better. You split test it. Your standard pricing structure versus lower price plus upsell stack. and then you compare revenue per visitor. That's what tells you what actually makes you more money, not what feels smarter. Now let's talk about something people don't really like to admit. Sometimes your offer is good, your pricing is fine, your funnel is solid, and people still don't buy. Why? Because they don't feel safe. And that's the part most people ignore. You can have a great product, a decent price, clean design, but if someone feels even a little bit uncertain, they hesitate. And as we know, hesitation kills conversion. So ask yourself, does your store actually remove friction, or are you just hoping people trust you? Most merchants just throw in a generic 30-day return policy somewhere in the footer, but nobody even sees it. And yeah, technically you have a return policy, but does it feel strong? Because there's a big difference between 30-day return policy and brew anywhere 60 days guarantee. Try it risk-free. One feels like a legal requirement, the other feels like confidence. But here's the thing. Don't just assume the bigger guarantee automatically wins. Because yeah, it might increase conversion, but it might also increase refunds. So you don't just look at conversion rate, you look at the full picture, refund rate, revenue per visitor, and actual profit. Because sometimes the extra conversions easily cover the refunds, but sometimes they don't, and you won't know unless you test it. Now the second thing, shipping thresholds. Let's say you offer free shipping at $50. But what happens if you move it to 75? Yeah, conversion might drop a bit, but average order value might go up enough to make you more profit overall. And that's the shift most beginners don't make. They obsess over conversion rate, but conversion rate alone doesn't pay your bills. Revenue and profit do. Trust reduces friction. Friction kills conversion. So your job isn't just to make the offer attractive, it's to make it feel safe, and then test how far you can push that without hurting your margins. Alright, now let's talk about above the fold. That's the first thing people see when they land on your product page, before they even scroll. And honestly, this matters way more than your color scheme. Because this section has one job, make the offer instantly understandable. Most stores try to look premium, or mysterious, or brandy. The future of coffee making. Okay, sure, but if I land on your page and I still don't instantly get what this does for me, I'm gone. Because when people land on your page, they're not studying your brand identity. They're thinking, is this for me and is this going to work? So what do you test here? Not cute copy. You test clarity. Like, does the top of your page make the value obvious in 1 second? Would a complete stranger understand what they're buying and why it matters? That's the test. And later we'll talk about upgrading that message using real customer language from reviews. But first, the message has to be clear. Then test your main image. For example, product on a white background versus someone actually using it. Because when you show it in real life, it feels more real. It shows context, it shows scale, it shows the outcome. And then test your CTA. Buy now, get yours today, make espresso anywhere. Sometimes one feels more urgent, sometimes one feels safer. You don't know until you test it. But here's where most people mess up. They change everything at once. The top section, the image, the button. And then they say, oh, this version works better. No, you don't know why it works better. That's not testing. That's hoping. One change at a time. Let it run for at least 2 weeks. Then let the numbers tell you what actually moved the needle. Next up, your reviews. And I want you to keep this framework in mind. At first I thought X, but it turned out to be Y. For example, at first I thought it would be super uncomfortable to carry, but it's actually compact and lightweight. Or I thought it would taste watered down, but it actually makes legit espresso. Whatever the common objections are for your product, you need to say that's what you thought. But here's the positive outcome. Now here's the important part. This is one of the most underrated split tests you can run. And how do you find those objections? It's stupidly simple. Find a competitor in your niche. Go to Amazon if you want, sort by 1-star reviews. What are people complaining about? Too small, feels cheap, stopped working after a week, color fader, doesn't match the pictures. Those are objections. And here's the thing, your customers have probably tried something similar before. They might have bought products in this niche multiple times, and at least once they were disappointed. So when they land on your page, they're already a little skeptical. Even if your product is way better than competitors, you need to understand what a new buyer might be thinking. And when you say that objection out loud first and answer it, they relax. Even though people know reviews can be faked, they still trust them more than plain headline text, because reviews feel more human. Now one more thing, do the opposite too. Sort by 5-star reviews. What are people praising? Finally, real espresso on the go. Battery lasts longer than I expected. Perfect for travel and camping. Those phrases are gold. Use those exact words in your headlines. Then split test. Generic copy versus customer language. For example, portable rechargeable espresso machine versus finally real espresso on the go. See the difference? One sounds like marketing. The other sounds like a real person. Customers already wrote your sales copy. You just have to use it. And sometimes, removing one major objection increases conversion more than any design tweak ever could. Now, here's something most stores completely ignore. If you're selling a product that can have a premium version, you should be testing that. And I'm not talking about inventing a whole new product. Sometimes it's literally the same product, just positioned differently. For example, you could have three versions: Standard for $49, Pro for $69, and maybe Premium for $89. Maybe the difference is small, like premium packaging, extended warranty, maybe extra items included, or faster shipping. It doesn't have to be dramatic. But here's what happens. When customers see only one price, they either take it or leave it. But when they see multiple options, their brain switches into comparison mode. Now they're not asking, should I buy this? They're asking, which one should I choose? And that changes everything. If you only sell one product for $49, it might feel expensive. But if you show three versions, Standard, Pro, and Premium, suddenly $49 feels reasonable. That's anchoring. And sometimes something interesting happens. Most people choose the middle option. If you notice that, you adjust. Maybe you increase the highest tier price so the middle looks like the smartest choice. This isn't manipulation, it's just how people make decisions. Nobody trusts giant 50% off banners anymore. But people do trust comparison. If other two versions cost $70+ and one costs $50, that feels like a deal, even if you structured it intentionally. And again, you don't assume this works. You split test it. Single product versus tiered variants with a most popular badge. Then look at average order value and revenue per visitor. Sometimes this alone increases AOV massively without touching traffic at all. Alright, now listen. None of this matters if you test like an amateur. You can have insane ideas, genius angles, brilliant offers, but if your testing process is messy, the data will straight up lie to you, and then you'll make decisions based on noise. So here's how you avoid that. First, one variable at a time. Not headline with price, upsell, layout all together. That's not testing. That's throwing spaghetti at the wall and praying. If you change three things and it wins, you won't know why. If it loses, you won't know what broke it. One change, clear test, clean result. Second, give it real traffic. If you run a test for one day, 200 people hit the page and version B is up by 3 conversions, that means absolutely nothing. That's randomness. You need enough data for patterns to form. Otherwise, you're reacting emotionally to short-term fluctuations, and emotional decision-making is exactly what we're trying to eliminate. Third, track the metric that actually matters. If your goal is revenue, don't optimize for clicks. Clicks don't pay you. Look at conversion rate, AOV, revenue per visitor, and actual profit. Sometimes a variation converts slightly worse, but makes more money per visitor. That's the winner, not the one that feels better. Not the one with more clicks, but the one that makes more profit. And one more thing, let the test breathe. Don't panic after 24 hours because one version is ahead. Early results flip all the time. Let it run long enough. 2 weeks is usually a healthy window. Then once you have a clear winner, immediately start testing the next lever, because A/B testing isn't a campaign. It's not a one-time experiment. It's a mindset. That's how stores compound instead of stagnate. But before we jump into the specific tests, we need to clear up something most people completely misunderstand about A/B testing. Look, you don't need to change everything at once. Pick one lever, test it properly, and see what actually moves your revenue. And if you want ready-to-use bundle setups you can plug into your store right away, watch the next video. I break down 3 structures that are already working and show you exactly how to use them.